Okay, there we go. So I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and joining us on this, our 28th episode, which is,
I'm honored.
I know. But Jason and I are like going 28 of these. We've already done 28. Amazing. Anyways, it's been a pleasure to meet everybody on these Zooms too, and we've learned a lot, so many great things about Paso and the people that make Paso the magic that it is. So tonight we have our guest is Steve Beck, and his lovely wife Pam is with us too, and we're going to learn a little bit. I did have the opportunity to talk to Steve about a month and a half ago, and I'm really fascinated by what he's doing. We're going to hear a lot about that, and so from that, I'm going to turn it over to Jason, and let's start meeting Steve Beck.
Thanks, Mike. Do we want to start with the video, or do we roll that in later?
Yeah, I'll roll it in while you're, I got it teed up here.
Okay, sounds good. We'll just go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining, seeing some familiar faces here. But appreciate you all dialing in. Steve and Pam, pleasure to virtually meet you. We kind of like to start sometimes when we can with everybody that at least has their camera on to hold up your bottles and share what you're enjoying tonight during the call. As we're interrupted with the video.
Oh yeah. All right, there's one of the screw ups that we were talking
That's all good. That's all good. Let's watch it.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sorry.
So see threesome there. Good. Oh, look at the rosé. Nice. Julie, is that the Syrah too?
That's the MSG in a bottle. It's got Syrah in it, about 20%.
Yeah, it's the GSM, but we call it MSG.
Louis, which one do you have there, Louis? Oh, you're on mute. That's okay. All right. Well, some good stuff. And then quickly, anybody outside of California tonight? You can.
Yeah, we actually are.
What? How's that?
We're in Santa Fe.
Oh,
And you're
nice.
not home.
Okay.
Not home.
Okay.
We're dialing in from Maryland. But
Oh,
Maryland, Washington, D.C. Hi, Pam. Hi, Steve.
Colorado.
I'm here, but I'm hiding.
Maureen's hiding.
Oh, hi, guys.
Maureen, don't
Yeah.
hide.
Patrick and Kate, you're in Colorado?
Yes,
Where at in Colorado?
Colorado Springs.
Ah, very
Hi,
nice.
guys. Good to see you
I
guys.
see a
Good to see you,
business
Steve.
background.
All right.
Just out in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. Is that Chef Lisa?
Yeah, welcome.
Yes, it is.
Outstanding. Well, thank you all for dialing in and from across the country. We really appreciate it. I'm excited tonight to talk to Steve and Pam and get to know them and to get to know about their winery and their wines for those who don't already. And clearly, we've got some familiarity here to some degree already. And while we get started,
like that today.
was it a little cloudy today?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Mike's going to show us a beautiful video of the property here.
There we go.
That's
Oh,
what we
yeah.
grow on. That's the seabed that we grow on right there, all piled up.
Hey, Mike, go ahead and expand that video if you can.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay. There we go. Beautiful.
I got a one-man newsroom here.
Yeah, as
You're
you can
pretty-
see, we're all head trained, and what you don't see is any drip hoses.
Yeah, dry farm.
So we have no safety net. There's no, yeah. People who say they dry farm and then you find out they got drip hoses, you kind of ask, well, what are those for?
What I find, what was noticeable to me was how far apart you planted your vines.
Yeah, we're and that, when you plant a vineyard, kind of have to decide whether or not you're going to dry farm or not right from the start, because the spacing is, our spacing is 12 feet by 12 feet, 12 by 12. And
Wow.
so it's about 308 vines per acre. And just zooming in the past, way up on top up there was a part of Dow's property, and they plant 3,000 plants per acre. So they plant 10 times the density that we do. And we plant those because that way, because they need that extra space for the water and resources for each of those vines.
It is noticeable when a vineyard is growing wine for quality versus for profit, right?
You can underline that.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, let me rewind a little bit, Steve and Pam. We'd like to jump in and get to know you a little bit, and some of your personal story, and then kind of migrate into the business a little bit. Understand that pre-wine, you were in Los Angeles, correct? Down in SoCal, in the, I don't know, is aerospace the right industry description?
Yeah, 30. I spent 35 years in the aerospace industry, working for a company that's a quasi-government entity, if you will. They're what's called an FFRDC, Federally Funded Research and Development Center. And it is called the Aerospace Corporation. And so we supported all of the Air Forces and National Reconnaissance Office's satellite programs. So our company was largely responsible for the invention of GPS, for instance, and the implementation of GPS. Yeah. So the company was an entity like others, like JPL, which was better known. They supported NASA, Rand Corporation, et cetera. These are all FFRDCs. But since we supported the classified side of the equation, we never got above the radar very much on purpose. So,
I was going to ask if you worked with JPL ever, being out there. What about any familiarity with the Planetary Society? Just out of curiosity.
No.
They're in Pasadena, partnered a lot with JPL, and were founded by Carl Sagan and a friend of mine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Our company also worked with NASA quite a bit as well.
Got it.
Where did you work in Bell Labs at one time, Steve?
I did actually. As a postdoc, I worked at Bell Labs for almost 2.5 years, something like that, in the 80s, before they got broken up, when it was this amazing place.
You're talking about Homedale, right?
No, this was Murray Hill.
Oh, Murray Hill. My dad he went to Homedale all the time. He was fun.
Yeah, Homedale was another venue, but Murray Hill was the main part of the especially the research end of Bell Labs. Right. Yeah, it was an amazing place. I remember the first couple of days I got there as a postdoc, we had lunch with a few of the Bell Labs folks, and there might have been 10 people in the room, and 3 of them were Nobel Prize winners. And I was like, completely
no big deal,
intimidated.
Yeah, we did a 10-year spell there in New Jersey, but native Californian, really.
I mean, New Jersey gets a bad rap, but it's really a beautiful state.
I actually liked it a lot, but
amazing state.
Anyways,
so
we
where
digress.
Isn't it the Garden State?
It is.
Yes, it is. Right, Mike?
It's a garden.
It's
humid. The only negatives I can really remember, mosquitoes were extremely bad.
And the winters are
and the deer flies and the horse flies, and I lived in the suburbs.
Don't forget the boss. The boss comes from New Jersey.
Who? Oh yeah, right. Oh, I was there when he broke. I was there. I went to graduated high school in '73.
Oh gosh.
Year after me.
So
I
Steve and Pam,
I graduated in '72. Yeah. God,
where did you two meet? Where did the two of you meet?
In Southern California. I worked for Los Angeles Superior Court, and an employee there, his wife wanted to have a surprise birthday party. So she invited all of her crew from aerospace and his crew from the courthouse. And it was like the scientists stayed on one side, the court people stayed on the other, and Steve was the only one that infiltrated the court people.
Yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is history.
The court people. So I understand that golf was never a hobby.
Yeah, no, I played golf. I played in quotes and decided that wasn't my future.
I was a lawn hacker, so it wasn't going to go well.
Well, at least you both gave it the good college try, it sounds like. Any other hobbies that, back when you had free time that you would
Yeah,
participate in?
exactly. When I had free time.
Yeah, free time. I have to remember free time.
Yeah, I used to fly. So I had an airplane for quite some time. So I enjoyed flying. We used to fly down to Mexico and
You camp on the beach.
camp on the beach and so forth. So flying was always part, but I've given that up because I can't afford it anymore.
Vineyard flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are a series of themes that Mike and I have detected in these 28 calls, and some of which are no free time, which is why I always qualify that question out.
Exactly.
Free time. Yeah, how consuming just the business can be overall.
It truly is.
So another personal question, non-wine related. For the two of you, what is your favorite non-wine adult beverage?
Oh, probably. Well, it's seasonal for me. So like the summers would be like a vodka tonic margarita.
Not really.
Winter's scotch.
Pretty much she's a wineaholic almost 100% of the time, basically.
I love my threesome.
And I'm bourbon. I'll confess to that.
Yeah,
That's me.
also popular.
There could be a Negroni in there.
Yeah, on occasion as well. I'll drink whatever.
I feel like Paso needs a bourbon focused bar, as popular as that answer is.
Well,
They have
exists.
the
I don't know.
speakeasy. Have you, they have the speakeasy. I'll confess, maybe Ann's been there, but I honestly
The
haven't.
problem is Paso closes down at 8 o'clock.
And probably works there on the weekends.
Yeah, probably. Pretty much, I think she works almost everywhere.
yeah, Ann is everywhere for sure.
Ann's getting a W-2. Ann's getting a W-2 from like 10 places.
Have you ever played the game Where in the World is Ann?
I know. She's an ever-ready bunny.
Yeah.
So
So,
13 this weekend if you want to come down.
so tell us about the transition that got you looking at the wine industry.
So, as a kid, I grew up in the Bay Area, actually in the suburbs, in the East Bay, in a place called Orinda, which is sort of the backside of Berkeley.
I lived in Lafayette. I know it well.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I don't know when you did, but I used to deliver flowers out of a florist there in Lafayette. So we in Lafayette Reservoir, we used to go sneak in there all the time with our kayaks.
yeah.
And they'd throw us out. But I grew up there. But my family, my grandmother was born and raised in Napa. I still have a lot of family in Napa, in that area. My great aunt owned actually, it's quite famous at the time. It was a restaurant, it was a steakhouse called Palby's in Napa. And so as a kid, I used to go to Napa a lot. My great grandparents had a truck farm up there, and my great grandfather would make wine. He's Italian, and he'd make a couple of barrels of wine a year, and that's what he would drink all year. And as a kid, maybe 10, 12, we would go to the wineries. Obviously, I wasn't exactly drinking. I might have been, I don't know. But I can remember just loving the country. Napa at that time was kind of like Paso is maybe now, in a way. It was it's even Paso 20 years ago, probably. It was 5, 6 wineries, maybe something like that at the time. No tasting fees ever. They'd take you through the caves if you wanted, whatever.
It was different.
Yeah, and I guess it just sort of osmotically seeped into my blood somehow. And Pam and I always, for vacations, we concentrate on food and wine, and the occasional museum, so we look respectable. But other than that.
Cathedrals, you know.
Exactly. So we've
So
always loved
I'm
wine.
guessing with all that time in Napa, you probably exposed to a lot of good wine early on.
Actually, you would think so, but I have to say my grandfather used to drink jug wine. Not my great grandfather, he would make his own, but my grandfather would just have a jug of I don't know what on next to his chair.
Italian style house wine, right?
Yeah, it is exactly
Yeah.
it. You know,
Or table wine. I mean, sorry.
table wine. Yeah, yeah, Hardy Burgundy.
Yeah. So, do you remember the first wine that made a kind of lasting impression on you?
Probably Hardy Burgundy. Honestly, no. I mean, we used like Pam and I would travel to Europe, and we loved the Alsace region. We loved the Alsatian wines. In Spain, we loved, Rioja and Aragon, those regions. And so, I would say I don't have an epiphany per se, but we certainly have enjoyed a lot of great wines over the years. Yeah.
I do want to come back to the Spain piece because I know you planted the Garnacha Tinta,
Right.
but no Tempranillo, and it seems
No
like there's that
Tempranillo.
Rioja
I
blend
know.
opportunity, right?
Yeah. And
We'll come back to
Tempranillo
that.
does really well here as well.
It sure does, yeah. So was your vineyard, your winery, then your the first work that you ever did in wine?
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah. This was
weren't
like
doing any of
this
the,
was like ignorance is bliss. I mean, jump in, for whatever reason, I thought I could actually do this and had no experience. I mean, virtually no experience, basically.
Flying by the seat of our pants.
When we looked at this property, we had been looking. This property is 160 acres. It's big, and we had been looking for like 20, maybe something like that. And then this one came up, and the view was just so spectacular. We said, "This is it." It was at the bottom of the market. It was in 2009 when we bought the property. There was nothing on it. It had been an almond orchard planted originally by Paderewski. For those who know Paderewski here in Paso, he owned our ranch. And so it has some historical context as well. And my thinking on it in hindsight was completely ridiculous. I thought, well, the neighbors are growing grapes. Why can't I grow grapes? And that was the sole, due diligence I did basically on the property. And
as a former researcher, did your research go deeper than this is a great view, or had you studied the soils before you?
Actually, I hate to admit it, it's more like this is a great view. And we just really got lucky with the soils. I have to say, I looked at the soil reports. There had been like 4 or 5 test holes dug on the property before we got there. And I looked at them. That doesn't mean I really understood them particularly. I think in hindsight, they were probably misguided anyway. And so over the years, we've learned a lot from where we started about it takes a long time to learn what a vineyard, how to farm a vineyard. And this one is no exception. So we're
Baby steps.
Yeah, we've been changing. And the interesting thing is, while we understood at that time that there were microclimates in this region, and there certainly are, there's also microgeology. And not more than a half a mile away, the geology is just completely different. Yeah. It turns from this old seabed across the little valley I'm talking about over to basically igneous rock. I mean, a volcanic rock. So quartz, we have quartz granite. There are alluvial soils that have been washed. Totally different than what we grow on. And so who knows?
So that property with those soils over on the west side, getting it at the kind of bottom of the market, I'm guessing today feels pretty good.
Yeah.
I couldn't buy it anymore.
Right, yeah.
And the other thing is we're at 1,800 feet, so we're way up high, and that also has a profound effect on how the grapes come out.
Right.
I didn't realize that at the time.
Well, so then you get the property, and at what point do you decide we're going to go through with planting and growing and making wine?
When was my yeah. We bought the property with the intention of planting grapes. And so we bought it in 09. We started by putting some roads in so we could actually get up the road.
There was
if you will.
nothing.
Yeah, fences came next.
Mhm.
We have probably 2 miles of fence line, deer fencing to keep the deer out. And then we planted the first 12 acres in 2011. And so we bought it in 09. And so 11 was about, as soon as we could plant, we planted, basically.
And then tell us about the name. What's the story
Loma
behind the name?
Seca.
So that's a Spanish name. California heritage, obviously, Spanish is important. Not to mention the fact that all our farm workers are Spanish speakers. Loma means hill in Spanish. Seca is dry, like Laguna Seca is dry lake. We're a dry hill. Loma is hill, Seca is dry, Loma Seca. Just a testament to the fact that we're dry farming. And indeed, it is a dry hill up there. And it just kind of rolls off the tongue. So.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a great name. So you knew at the time that you created the name that you had the intention of dry farming. That was just one of the principles of how you wanted to operate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we started from beginning for lots of reasons. One is just the scarcity of water in California. We think the future absolutely is dry farming in California for grapes. Just like so many things, groundwater is a precious resource. But the main reason we chose that was because it makes better wine. It's just a completely different paradigm in terms of how those grapes come out.
Is it part of that stressing process that helps?
Yeah, in dry farming, we don't need to plant our grapes 2 feet apart to stress them out. They get plenty of stress if you don't water them. Our roots go down 25 feet, 30 feet in some cases. And what that does is when you irrigate a vineyard, the drip system, the vines are expecting that water to come from that drip system, and the roots don't really go very far. They kind of sit up near the surface of it. And that's not a tremendously interesting part of the terroir if you think about it. It's sort of the organic soil that's there at the very top soil, and it's universal for the most part. Whereas if those roots start to go down because they're looking for water, which is what our roots do, they're going through strata after strata after strata. And those things are really pulling in those local, what those flavors, what those minerals are from the soil. And it has an effect. It absolutely has an effect on what those grapes taste like.
Yeah. So when you decide to plant, I understand that you bought with the intention of planting, but how did you make the decisions on the varietals that you chose to start with?
That was all Steve.
It was a combination of things. One, what we like to drink. Why not start there? We figured if we can't sell it, we got to drink it, right? So we better plant something we like to drink. What I thought could do well from just doing research on the varietals that could do well in Paso. Certainly the round varietals that turned out to be Cab, because I thought, well, you got to have a Cab. Everybody needs to have Cabernet. And what could we market basically? So sort of those 3 factors. But I'd say the primary one is what could we grow well on the property.
So, but yet you planted Riesling.
Yeah. I like to be a little contrarian, if you will. No one likes this.
Was that one of the wines that you like to drink? And so we were going to put it in there and see what happens.
Riesling's one of my favorite grapes ever. So when I worked at Aerospace, I spent a lot of time in Australia, actually, working in Australia, and all over Australia. But when we were in South Australia, in Adelaide region, we would go to Barossa and McLaren Vale and Clare Valley, actually. And Clare Valley is renowned for its Riesling, the dry Riesling. It's amazing if you've been or had it. And that climate is much more akin to Paso's climate than it is to Germany or Austria or the Wachau Valley or any of those regions that are famous for Riesling. And so I knew we we could grow Riesling. I also knew that our soils allowed the acids to be retained in our wines. It's critical. So I knew we could grow Rieslings that had that acidity, and we could get it ripe. And honestly, it's doing great. So we're the only, I think we're the only vineyard in North County in the Paso region to grow Riesling.
I was just going to ask you that very question because I don't know that I've heard anybody else doing
I think
it.
we are it. We are it. Last year we sold some of it to Riley Hubbard at Hubba. So
oh yeah,
right. Make a Riesling out of it. So we'll see how that comes out.
Awesome.
Sure, will be good.
A lot of times you hear of winemakers who, after a few vintages, decide to replant, or they want more of one varietal than another. Have you made any changes since your initial planting, or did you luck out?
Yeah, we have. We've made mistakes. We planted some part of the vineyard, most of the vineyard, 85% of it's on rootstock, for lots of good reasons. And we planted about 15% of it on their own roots at one point. So we planted some Garnacha and some Petit Syrah and some Cab on their own roots. The Garnacha just is killing it on their own roots. It's doing great. The Petit Syrah and the Cab just didn't make it, just could not ever cut it. And so we yanked those and put in rootstock, and we're probably going to put back some whites, some Vermentino, and maybe some Riesling, more Riesling. So yeah, and these time constants are long, you know, especially if you're my age, where you go, I gotta wait 5-8 years before this turns around. You know, it's like not a good thing. Can't afford to do that.
Much like when a wine comes out and the instructions are wait 5 to 8 years to drink it. And I've got some friends saying I can't wait that long.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm thinking like, you know, they're going to be pouring it at my funeral.
Over my dead body.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly, literally.
Right, Mike? Speaking of which, where's Craig?
Yeah.
So, Tempranillo, you mentioned Rioja. You've got, you know, you've got the perfect blend ready to go. Have you thought about Tempranillo?
We're always we're beating a different path for some reason. You know, I like Tempranillo, but I have to say for me, it wasn't my favorite grape, even in Rioja. I mean, that's, you know, 80% of the grapes are Tempranillo in Rioja, something like that. But they are now growing more and more Garnacha. I always liked Priorat wines, which were Garnacha-based wines. And Alagon region, which is next to Rioja there, a lot of Garnachas. And right now, Garnacha is in a big upswing, I would say. And of course, you know, it fits with the Grenache, it fits with GSM, which the Rhone varietals, it's almost the same grape as Grenache, if you will. And I just wanted to be a little bit different, but I still wanted to be able to play in the Rhone game, if you will. Tempranillo, yeah, we could have planted Tempranillo. I think it does pretty well here, so, but we didn't. One of those decisions.
So I understand that you know, you're doing the dry farming and very organic focused.
Yeah, we are certified organic. I didn't mention that, but we are.
Is regenerative on the roadmap, or close enough, not worried about it?
Not really. I mean, we do. So one aspect of that is sheep. We would love to get sheep in the vineyard, if that turns out to be possible. We've had it before. A long time ago, we had a guy with some Basque sheep herder, basically just dumped a bunch of sheep on our property. I don't know, maybe several hundred head at once. And they just went through and cleaned up the property, which was, and at that time it was win-win. You know, we didn't charge him, he didn't charge us. It was just a good deal. But we've never had it since then, and that would be something we would like to do, I think, in terms of that aspect of it.
Yeah, I mean, in a sort of neighbor in Tablas Creek was, I think they're the first in the world to be regenerative.
Right, and they do an awesome job down there, no question about it. And regenerative, we already practice some of the aspects. One of the aspects of regenerative farming is taking care of your crew, basically taking care of the people. And we're very careful about that in terms of, you know, when they can work, what we pay them, things like that. That's absolutely critical aspect of what we do. So,
Were there other wineries in the region or outside of the region? You know, I know you spent a lot of time in Napa early on that influenced um, your style, your brand.
Fratelli Parada?
that wouldn't, our style is quite different. We love Fratelli Parada. If you haven't been, that's a lovely winery, but I would say our style is, I would say it's more along the lines of some of the Spanish wines coming out of Rioja and Aragon in terms of style, more austere than say Napa. You know, we are not a plush Napa cab, for instance. We are a hillside, pretty angular wine, if you will. A lot of acid to it. Yeah, I would say the style that our philosophy is the vineyard is doing the work, honestly. And in the winery, honestly, we're pretty hands-off in the winery. We don't add any, we've never added acid to our wines ever, enzymes ever. We're very much, hey, let's let neutral oak, almost not exclusively, but almost exclusively, we're neutral oak. We put a little new oak on our cab. And so we want the vineyard to show through, basically. And it wants to produce a style that is that sort of more austere style, I think. And well, you're drinking it, so you can tell from that.
It's spectacular. I mean, I really like it.
Yeah, the tannin. One of the interesting things is, you know, as you dry farm, you concentrate flavors and colors. The colors are in the skins, flavors mostly, and those get concentrated. They're not diluted with a lot of water. Our juice per ton, if you will, how many gallons of juice we produce per ton of grapes is quite low because there isn't a lot of water in our grapes. And I was surprised, though, that one of the things that, and this I didn't expect, the tannins are so fine grained. They're soft tannins. And I think I understand the chemistry now. I didn't to start with, but it's really fascinating that's it. These wines will age fine. I've made wine since 2013 that I'm drinking. It's great, but you can drink them pretty young and they're not going to knock your head off, basically. You know, you don't have to lay these wines down for 10 years.
Well, so over to Pam's answer. How about just other winemakers in the region that you're particularly fond of, that you like their wines?
Well, we like Fratelli Parada because they're family style. They're small like us. They're dry farmed, and we like how they run their operation.
We were members at Tablas for
a long time.
Denner.
We first started off in San Ynez, like Brander, and I forget the other ones that we were with there.
But even Foley.
Yeah, Foley.
So the Pinots,
Babcock, Melville.
Pinots out of Santa Rita.
Hey, Steve, what your production, did I get that right? You're about 500 cases?
Yeah, really small. We sell most of our grapes still. Yeah, I mean, we sell 80% of our grapes to other wineries.
So, sorry, Jason, that brings me another question. A little bit of research. There was some tie when I looking around the internet to Le Cuvier, or your Loma Seca, but Loma Seca Vineyard, right? Are they using some fruit from using some of the fruit from your vineyard for their
right? Le Cuvier used to buy John Munch, when he was the owner of Le Cuvier, would very much insist almost exclusively on dry farm fruit, and we sold him fruit for more than 10 years, basically, at Le Cuvier, until they were sold to another owner, basically. But Le Cuvier, yeah, some of the wines you'll be drinking now at Le Cuvier are grapes, basically.
Yeah, because some of the people here, they're fans of Le Cuvier as well.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah, John was a character. He's an amazing winemaker, but just an interesting person as well. And so they've, like I said, have bought our grapes almost from the beginning for 10 years or so. So a lot of their wines have a lot of other people's grapes as well, but They have a lot. They used to buy quite a fraction of our production for a long time.
And Steve, this Syrah that I'm enjoying, it's 100% Syrah.
100%.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
really good, really good.
Thank you. Yeah, we do a GSM. We call it message in a bottle, MSG, period. And I think Julie was drinking that right now, but we like it by itself. And one of the reasons we do so many varietals is because we do sell a lot of our grapes. And so we want to be able to show people what these grapes can do. If prospective grape buyers, for instance, say, "Whoa, let me taste your wine, so see what that tastes like." So that's one of the reasons we do that.
I noticed that the Mourvèdre was sold out on your site. You've got more of that coming soon.
There's already in stock. Our 2019, I think it was, is sold out. We have 2020, as well as 2021, actually. So we've got plenty more good.
Got it. Okay. You just got to get the website updated then. Huh?
Yeah. Let me put my other hat on real quick.
All right, exactly.
Patrick
Oh,
and Kate
my.
giving the woohoo to the Mourvèdre. There we go.
Right.
So, what would you say at this point? What you're 12 years roughly in?
No, more than that. 15.
15?
We started in 09. Well, we bought.
Okay, I'm looking at first vintage. Shame on me.
Oh
Shame
no,
on
I
me.
mean honestly, we didn't start. I made wine all the way through, but for the neighbors basically. But we didn't start commercial production of wine until 18 was our first commercial vintage, but we didn't start selling it until 21, I think, something like that.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah, but
So
we didn't sell. We took home and, stomped, pressed, barreled. A year later, had a bottling party in the driveway, and
Right.
that's
That's
how we did
kind of
it.
how we started. Yeah. The
the
true
good old
courage.
days.
Yeah.
Did you ever work at any other wineries?
No.
Oh.
No, I mean, I just asking because we have so often we have
Right.
people that have been mentored and interned.
Right.
And,
That would be the smart thing to do.
you're like, Len Gelfin was the name that came to mind that started off making wine.
Yeah, we started. I mean, there was a guy in our neighborhood who made wine. We started with him, sort of in a way, and he ended up owning a winery in Lompoc in the what do they call that?
The ghetto.
The ghetto.
The ghetto.
Wine
One
ghetto.
ghetto. Yeah.
Montemar. It's called
Montemar.
Montemar.
Yeah, and so he used to make it in the driveway, and sort of, I guess I got interested in that, and we started making it in our driveway. So a bunch of this is in LA, Los Angeles area.
Anita and Verinder were interns at Booker. They said they were the oldest interns in Paso. I think
That would be,
Yeah.
they're much smarter than we are.
They're very nice. We like them.
Yeah, they were super nice. So what would you say at this point is the hardest part of the making wine business?
Well, I think pretty much like everyone says, selling wine is the hardest part. Making wine is pretty much, it makes itself. It's wine, honestly, if you don't pick the grapes, they either turn into raisins or wine, one or the other. So it kind of makes itself. Obviously, it's not exactly true, but being a farmer is difficult. It's physically difficult on the tractor and so forth. At my age, it's not the easiest thing. So that's tough. But honestly, in terms of challenges, something I didn't have a lot of experience with was selling anything really. And so selling wine is marketing wine.
Marketing is.
We have
tough.
400 wineries up here. So what makes you different? Why is somebody going to come and drink wine with you? And the answer we got from Gary Everly, to be honest with you, who got it from Mondavi. Yes, his mentor, one of his mentors, and that is hospitality is critical. We want to have people come up and enjoy the time that they're there, and I think that's super important.
Then the flip side is, what's the most exciting part? What's most rewarding, most enjoyable?
I think when you taste it after it's bottled and you're just like, wow, we did it. We did it.
That, and, and I think meeting so many great people. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's not easy to do that. We don't have any employees in terms of tasting room employees. Pam and I are it. So if you come up, that's who you're going to see. You know, take it or leave it, kind of a thing.
Well,
But
it's a good thing you're charming people.
yeah, I don't know about that,
Yeah,
but
well.
we've met so many great people, and this group has helped a lot. By the way, we appreciate Wine Fanatics.
So much.
So much.
They have no idea how much.
Because we don't have we have no marketing skills whatsoever.
I'm gonna pin it all on Ann. She really started the fire.
She
lit the
did.
fuse. Yeah.
She did.
I hadn't
And
heard
he-
of Loma Seca until she brought it up to me.
Right. And Paul and Julie have been great
Oh my God.
supporters,
Mhm.
and we appreciate them.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's and to give Mike a plug, that's really what this group is all about too. Especially for production in your size, we really like to give you guys a platform because there's a lot of gyms in there, and
Well,
this is a gym.
What we appreciate is that the people from Wine Fanatics want to go on this journey with us. They're interested in our story and how we started and where we're going.
Where are we going?
I'm not sure. Back to Rioja. I don't know.
That's pretty much what the group is about. And
Mhm.
I have to, I beat this line to death. People, I mean, you make great wine. So that's that's a plot that works. People buy from people they like, and there's no doubt that you are very likable.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for that. And like I said, it's a two-way street for us. So we're enjoying this part of the thing. I mean, you know, I spent, like I said, 35 years in a laboratory.
In my experience with the rest of the group has been, these are very nice people.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a good
industry. And that, by the way, we want to put a shout out to the Paso Robles industry, wine industry in general, because it is a very collegial group of folks, very supportive. We get a lot of support from fellow winemakers and so forth. So we really couldn't be happier in terms of where we chose to do this.
That's
Very true. Very true.
we definitely believe that is one of the differentiating elements of Paso that make it so unique and so special.
I agree. I agree. I mean, we don't go to Napa anymore. Even though my family's up there, they come down here. We don't go up there.
Why would we go there?
I wait for them to come to Orange County, then I go.
So one of our more popular questions, and we're at that time now, we look to you for a pro tip, and it could be, you know, maybe something that you've seen from experience that wine consumers could do differently or better to improve their wine enjoyment, whether it's how or where they buy it, how or where they store it, how or where they consume it, anything. What pro tips could you share with us?
Well, I think a couple I would suggest. One is your brain is an interest, not yours specifically. Everybody's brain is an interesting place in the sense that we're very visually trained, if you will. And if you blindfold somebody, your brain all of a sudden goes into like, where am I kind of a thing. So blind tasting, I think, is super cool thing. It's fun to do, but it's so important in terms of being able to train your brain to what's in this glass, basically.
It can be shocking for some people.
We've had people that put a blindfold on and can't tell the difference between red and white wine. Okay, and that's just how your brain is.
Yeah.
And so I think for enjoyment, if you start to do a lot of blind tasting or get with friends and do that, that's huge in terms of being able to pick out particular things in wine, identify various kinds of wine, and it helps you understand what you enjoy as well. So that's one. The other thing is understand that wine and food are so important together. So people ask me all the time, what's my favorite wine? I'm always like, well, it totally depends on where I am, who I'm with, what I'm eating, and you know, what temperature is it outside. So those are the other things. Realize that wine is not a, you know, it's something that is a place, but it needs to, I think it needs to go with food and friends and family. It's such a special beverage.
And everybody's taste buds are different. I mean, you know, so when people ask, well, what do you get out of it? Well, I might get something different than you get, which doesn't make me right or you wrong.
Right, right. Excellent tips.
So-
Awesome. Thank you.
I see a question that unfortunately, because we're talking about food and Patrick and Kate are saying, Pam, you make amazing olives. So I had to jump on that.
Well, Stephen cures them and I marinate them, and it's not a big secret. It's a lot of garlic, herbs de Provence, a little olive oil and wine vinegar, and bada bing.
Hmm. Well, that
By the
sounds
way, there
like
was an
another
Earlier
good
question,
reason. to visit.
someone asked how many of your acres are in vines?
35 out of 160. So most of them get, go to the elk and the
Wild
deer and the
pig, the
pigs
deer.
and everything else that we
Mhm.
have down there. So,
And in just a minute, we'll come back to any other questions. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We got a couple more, and then we're going to move over to questions. But now, Steve, I want to give you a chance to talk about your current lineup. If there's anything you'd like to share about what you got, either in the current lineup or anything left over in the library.
yeah, I mean, one of the things is we just changed over our rosé production. We had been a blend of co-fermented blend, which means we blend the grapes, not wines. Field blend of Grenache and Mourvedre, and we've just switched that over to who is that?
Oh, I know.
Switched that over to a Primitivo based rosé, which is, I think, really interesting. It's drinking nicely right now, and for summer coming up, I think it'll be a great wine. And then I'm thinking we're looking towards the spring shipment. Still trying to decide what I'm going to ship.
Yeah.
And I'm leaning towards we've got now a couple of years of Mourvedre and we've got 3 years of Petites lined up, and also Garnacha. I may do something on the order of what a difference a year makes, and try to emphasize how different every year is in our vineyard, because we don't control almost anything in it.
Right. Sounds like a good vertical blind tasting.
Yeah, it's our vertical of 2 or 3 years.
It's still vertical, I guess. How about the club? Can you tell us about your wine club?
Absolutely. That's our, by the way, we love our wine club members. They are the heart and soul of
Loma Seca.
of Loma Seca. If it weren't for them, we wouldn't exist, and that's not kidding. We do 2 shipments twice a year, 6 bottles
Spring
in
and
the fall, 6 bottles in the spring. And we're flexible. People can kind of choose what they want, but our logistics are not great. So we try to push them towards hey, let us surprise you. But no, and there's no obligation on our club. I mean, we do 2 pickup parties a year. So we're coming up on April 27th, the same day you guys are doing your thing. We're doing ours for the spring pickup party, and it's free to the members. Barbecue. I think we're going to do tacos this year. I don't know. We're still coming up.
We're on the fence.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure this out. We do the cooking, so it's not like we bring anybody in to do this. This is all just Pam and I doing this.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
We'll switch over to some questions here in the time that we've got left. I think we missed one. Patrick, Laura asked about what did you fly? What kind of plane did you have?
Oh.
Oh, that's I love to talk about airplanes. I could go on even as long as wine talking about airplanes. I and 2 other partners built a home-built airplane, actually.
Oh, wow.
RV?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't an RV. No, it was a glass air.
Oh, geez. Sorry, we're out here in Santa Fe. We're actually have a 182. We're flying out to here. We're here for a couple, 3 days, and then we're going out to Abilene to watch the eclipse from about 10.
Oh, you guys are,
Sure.
oh,
Okay.
that's so
How
awesome.
fun.
So we're spoiling everybody. We're having fun. We're having
Oh, that's
Well,
great.
good for you.
My brother lives in Austin, and I really wanted to get out there and see that. But
Oh, yeah.
The ticket, the commercial tickets are only like $3,000 now. I don't know what.
I know. I just don't have my airplane anymore. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'd fly.
I guess we're gonna miss this one.
But yeah,
I'm going to geek out for half a second here on airplanes because this is a wine, not airplane. I love the Glacier. Did you love that thing?
oh, that's a little sports car. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a
It was
two-seater, not sports car. I mean, it's like
fast. This is a fast little airplane. It was, the only thing is it didn't haul a lot, right? So
Okay.
if you put a person next to you and maybe a suitcase in the back if you were lucky. Make
Yeah.
sure it didn't get on any of the
Or a
cables.
scale before you got on the plane. Let's be tactful.
I think you're smaller than I am. And
Yeah.
we travel with a case of wine with us, so it's a problem.
Yeah, that, I'm not sure
Bottles.
I'm
We
not sure the
brought a couple
Glacier-
bottles
Yeah,
of
we
Williams
have-
with us.
for this event. Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
But back onto the wine thing though, is
Your rosé.
your rosé is bloody stunning. I'm
It
sorry.
is.
I love my rosés. We have some $105 bottle rosés. This is up onto that world. It is beautiful.
It
The
is.
Primitiva, I never had a Primitiva rosé before. I literally am gonna take this blind tasting. We have a bunch of wine geeks. We're gonna take to Santa Barbara. I'm gonna take this and three wines, one from Napa, this, and one from Paso. And I'm gonna blind taste in a black glass.
Good for you.
Which one do you like the
Oh,
best?
perfect. That's
No,
perfect.
it's like, and these guys are wine geeks beyond belief. It's beautiful.
You'll have to let me know
Well,
how that comes out.
yeah.
At least
We
if
will.
it comes out well.
Because the Napa rosé is a Cabernet Sauvignon rosé.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So that's why Patrick, and that's why I'm like, he just opened it while we've been on this
Okay.
call, right? That
I
one.
don't need any more
And-
water. I need rosé.
That- Me too. I'm like, it's a bigger rosé, right?
Mhm.
And so he's liking that even more.
Layers,
So,
the
it's so
flavor, the
interesting.
mid palate, everything.
Thank
works.
you.
Yeah, the acids in those wines really, it's kind of this journey that starts in the front of your mouth and kind of makes you drool a little bit, and then goes to the mid palate, and then all the way to the finish. It's just those are the acids in those wines.
No, this is truly beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. That makes us feel so good. So thank you very much. For
Yeah.
that.
Oh, this is perfect.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
We'll have fun
Um,
in Santa Fe.
And Texas.
Patrick and Kate are asking about your 2023 vintage. How you feeling about that?
I think, honestly, 2023 is in Paso in general is going to be an amazing vintage because
All the rain.
we were so late. We're done, well, in 2022, which was the hardest year, we were done almost by Labor Day
Mhm.
with the
It's
whole vineyard,
early.
picking the whole vineyard. In 23, we didn't start until well after Labor Day. And we didn't finish until almost mid-October. And so the vines had a lot of hang time on them, if you will, which is for dry farming, it's very difficult to get so-called hang time. The vines do what they want to do, but the vines are in charge.
Mhm.
We can't mess with them at all. They do what they want to do. And so when they say they're ripe, we pick them.
How would you compare it to 21?
Ooh.
21 was a good year. I think 23 is going to be more, although 21 was much more in line as it was getting earlier and earlier and earlier. 22 was the earliest, but 21 was still an early vintage for us, coming off some of the drier years. And I think, and I love 21, but I think 23 is going to be even more interesting. The acids were there. The volatile acidities were really low, super low. And the flavors are just so subtle and complex at the same time. I think it's going to be
That's
a good
exciting to hear.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. If you want to stock up, I would start stocking up on 23s. I'm telling you, when they come out.
What, somebody wants to know, what is your favorite, Louis Aguilar wants to know what your favorite food spot in town is.
Our kitchen.
No, I like that.
That's kind of true, actually. We don't get out. There's so many good restaurants in Paso. It's hard to choose. We go to a couple we like habaneros
Habaneros.
for Mexican.
Oh my God, you're the first one to say it. I love that place.
And you know what? We keep telling people and we think we should stop telling people because it's getting so crowded, which is good for them, but
I like it simple
it
and
is.
I like spicy food, so.
Yeah, their food is good. And,
I like that place.
and we like Edo, for Italian actually, and, but the other Italian restaurants are good as well. You know, Buona Tavola and,
Del Cortile.
yeah, Il Cortile is good.
Yeah, we went to Habanero on Steve's recommendation. It was fantastic.
It's great.
Good.
It's
I'm glad
great.
you guys like it.
They give you a lot of food for the money, I'll tell you. that.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, then the quality is always good too.
yeah, and they're very nice there. Where else do we go? We don't go out. We've always liked the French one, Bistro Laurent.
Oh, Bistro Laurent,
Which
which
is-
is called BL Brasserie now.
But it used to be
It's
Bistro Laurent.
it's on the park.
In the park, right.
Mhm.
That's really always been very
Yeah.
good and consistently good.
Mhm.
So that's probably our
Yeah.
top ones. We used to go to Hatch, but you can't get in anymore, and so we don't go there much.
Yeah, it's pretty crowded.
Mhm.
Yeah, I try to do something new every time we go, so.
Okay.
Anybody else have questions?
Well, Steve's not mentioning this, but I hadn't heard the build your own plane story, but Steve, you should tell them about you are off the grid. Where
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
thank you,
thank you,
Paul. Yeah, we are, so not only are we don't water and we don't use pesticides because we're certified organic, but we don't buy any electricity either. We are 100% off the grid. So all our energy needs are solar powered. So we're trying to be good stewards. Basically, when we put that system in, we looked for somebody in town that could do that. And it turned out no one would do an off-grid system. They all did grid tie systems. That's all they know how to do. And so I had to go to folks up in Hopland, and anybody from California might know Hopland as sort of the marijuana capital of the world. Aside from hops.
That's why it's called Hopland, right?
And so they were like the only experts in town about how do you do an off-grid system. So that's where we.
That's because they were trying to hide their electricity usage.
Exactly.
Absolutely. No question. And they're out in the boonies, right? They're
Yeah.
trying to hide everything.
But I'll have that discussion when I see you in April, or the end of the month, but we have solar and a couple power walls and we can't get off the grid. So I'm gonna find out how that works, but.
I'll tell you, everyone not to get on a soapbox, but California, we have 360 days of sunshine. Why wouldn't we have solar panels on our roofs, basically?
Money, cost.
Yeah, it's coming down. It's getting a lot less expensive than it used to be.
Okay, I have one more question for you. Your Grenache.
Yeah.
I love that. We had it the other day. We let it stay open. Last night we were in
bad smash burger.
with a bad smash burger. We had your Grenache. I apologize about that, but we're enjoying it now. I don't know Grenache. Can you tell us more about that grape? It's something that relatively how does it age?
It's a lighter bodied, one of the lighter bodied wines that we make. I mean, if you compare it to say Petit Syrah or whatever. So, and again, the tannins are very soft, but this wine I think will age fine. You can keep this, you could drink this 10 years from now. I think it'll be wonderful. And it's an enormously widely planted grape in Europe, and more so now in California, mostly under Grenache, under the term Grenache. The grapes are almost the same, basic. Garnacha Tinta and Grenache are Grenache Noir are almost the same grape, basically. Yes.
Oh, so that's the difference. As I don't have my Janus book here to go ahead and look the two up and see the genus of it and see how close they are to each other. So it is more like a Grenache because it does taste like a Grenache.
Yeah, I mean, they're
I'll
not the same exactly, just like our Primitivo isn't exactly Zinfandel. In fact, they're more different than Garnacha and Grenache, I would say. The Grenache and Garnacha are more similar than Zinfandel and Primitivo, but the flavor profiles are very similar. The body of the wine is quite similar in that regard.
Yeah, it's just we were looking at this last night, and I said this needs about 3-4 years.
Mhm.
And 3-4 years
Opened it, I took the cork out, I poured it, and it was
in a plastic cup in
It's
Smashburger
great.
in Laughlin, Nevada.
I love it.
Doesn't get any better.
I love it.
good.
It's so good. Yeah, my beer didn't taste that good.
I love it. I'm gonna write that down as a pairing now.
It was the chicken burger. And by the way, I appreciate your fact that you're offline. That's actually great. That's good. That's we're trying. We just take too much energy. Was it a blend or was it a home cook system?
Yeah, we're battery powered at night, and in the day the sun is out. We're
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
works great.
And
Yeah,
have you talked? Oh,
I was
sorry,
gonna
go
say
ahead.
we're going on, I think, what, 3 years with that system now?
Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
far, knock on wood, it's been absolutely perfect.
Have you talked planes with Gary Eberly?
No, we've talked,
We
Gary.
talked hospitality.
But I know he's
he would
flown
talk
all
planes
over.
all day with you for
He
sure.
used to fly, I know, all over the country, marketing his wine, I think.
He had a 421. He was flying the biggest.
Yeah, he could afford, I can't afford that.
No one can now.
Now, what kind of airplane do you have?
182.
Oh, that's an awesome airplane. That's
It-
such
no,
a good,
Yeah,
That's a great airplane.
it's a beautiful thing. We can pull it. We pull the back seat out like we do when we travel like this. We can put 8 cases of wine in there.
oh, yeah, oh, yeah. No,
That's
it's a
the
workhorse.
important thing.
You know what?
It's a
You know
workhorse.
what they call that, Patrick? Bootleggers.
And that's such a reliable airplane, and it's a great instrument, instrument platform. So it's a great airplane.
Yeah. Okay. I'm apologizing to everybody right now. I've had way too much to drink. So
And then I'm gonna cut them off.
then she's gonna cut me off. So on our way out here from Laughlin to Santa Fe, we ended up losing our vacuum pump, and at the exact same time is we were having massive turbulence, and at the exact same time, all of a sudden they had a GPS outage that was happening.
Oh, I was just gonna
Oh,
say,
my-
you've got GPS, you don't need a vacuum pump, right?
Yeah, no, but we're getting close to White Sands, and White Sands was having a GPS. So literally, United Air and Southwest were saying we just lost our GPS. And so for everybody else, this is how we navigate nowadays. We just go on GPS and we put it on autopilot and we go there. So it was actually fascinating. So the reliability of it, yes, but my plane just cost me $1,000 to get the vacuum pump replaced. But it was,
Yeah, well, welcome.
Cheaper
yeah,
in New
welcome to
Mexico than
Plain
in California.
yeah. Sorry. And I sorry, I'll
Okay.
stop. I'll
No,
stop.
that I get it. I mean, I started flying before GPS, so yeah, we do IFR. I follow roads.
Do you see the runway down there? Look for the runway.
Right.
Time we see it. She's gonna cut me off now.
I get it. Well,
Follow the
next time you're out, we'll talk airplanes.
Anybody else have any questions? Brian, are you trying to? We can't hear you.
You're not muted, but we can't hear you for some reason, Brian.
Yeah.
No audio at all. Now you're muted.
Now you're muted. Well, write it down and
Put it on a sign, right, Elder?
So I've got a question if there's time. So I'm a little surprised that you are spacing your vines so far apart when you're dry farming. I would think that putting them close together would encourage the roots to go deep looking for water rather than spread out laterally. You've given them a lot of room. And if we've got a couple years of good water, which is not usual in Paso, but the last couple of years haven't been bad.
No, we've been lucky those 2 years.
And I've heard about people putting big cylinders, big, metal cylinders, like 5 feet in the ground, so that the roots can't spread out and they
Yeah,
have.
that seems like complete insanity to me, but what we learned, one of the things we learned when we pulled our vines up, the ones I was telling you about, is that the roots basically go down. They don't go out so much as they go down, for whatever reason. That's just the nature of how these vines grow. But we want to be able to pull that much moisture in other words, have that available at some point. And that's the lore of it. How scientific that is, to be honest, David, I wouldn't say that it's enormously scientific, but when we planted that vineyard, we talked to folks that had been doing dry farming for 30, 40 years here in Paso, and that was their recommendation. And I think it's still relatively, it's followed, pretty religiously for those who dry farm. Like, for instance, Tabla says their new vineyards that they dry farm is planted very similar to how we've got ours planted. One of the advantages of that wide spacing is also the fact that we can till in 3 different directions. There's no trellis, and we can till in 3 different directions get our tractor through, and that lets us mechanically get rid of the weeds rather than any kind of herbicide as well. But that's an interesting question. I can't say that's scientifically supported, but yeah.
Hey, Steve, we got a question from Anne because she has technical issues. Can you address the alcohol content of the wines? It's high, but not the typical burn of high alcohol wines.
Right.
Why is that?
Right. Thank you, Anne, for that question. Often I'll ask people, and I don't show them the label, but I ask them, what do you think the alcohol in this wine is? And they'll almost always guess something around 13.5, something like that. And we're always more like 15.5.
Wait, do they know you're from Paso when they say 13.5?
Yeah, well, if they've been to Tablas, perhaps, but
Right.
Other than that, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact is we get sun, and sun means we get sugar in the wine, sugar in the grapes, and that, of course, means that we get alcohol. The grapes, again, like I said, they are in charge, and so we don't. We measure bricks before we pick. We measure pH, but those are not the determining factors of when we pick the grapes. We're out there tasting, and are the seeds ripe? Are the skins ripe? Are we getting the flavors that we want? Those are deterministic in terms of when we pick, and often that just means we're up at 26 bricks, and something like that. And so it's just the nature of the beast, if you will. The fact that it doesn't feel hot when you drink it. I mean, a lot of times you'll taste a wine and it'll kind of go up your nose and you go, Jesus, that's got a lot of alcohol. These wines tend not to do that, mainly I think because of the acids balance those alcohols out somehow. And so the perception is that, again, a well-balanced wine, even if the alcohols are fairly high, like they are in Paso, if you keep the acids in there and the tannins are balancing it, I think you get a wine that doesn't feel overtly alcoholic, if you will.
Right. Yeah, this one, the Petite Syrah is 15.5.
Yeah, that's not uncommon for us.
Right.
I won't tell you what some of them go to.
The ones you don't print out, right?
Yeah, we're allowed by law, we can subtract 1% on the label. You can go plus or minus 1% on.
Okay, I get it.
The feds say, the TTB says you may or may not add or subtract 1% off of your. We've never added one, I can tell you that.
Anybody else have any questions? Well, then I will say.
Hey. I found the mute button. So one of the questions I have is, you said you have about 50 acre? You only have you have 160 acre land, and you only got 50 acres under
35 under cultivation.
35 planted.
Are you planning on expanding and having more fun?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
In fact, we have stakes in the ground that I was gonna plant, and I just decided, you know what, I've got enough to do. And
Got
so
it. So you're really trying to stay balanced at about 500 cases. Is where
no, we'd like to grow the cases. We could, like I said, we sell about 80% of our grapes. We could go up to probably 3,000 or 4,000 cases off our property if we wanted, at least 3,000. I'd like to get to, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000 cases. That's where I'd like to be. But in order to do that, we need to sell it. And so that's what the goal is.
So it sounds like what the excitement, what you're feeling is being a grower and being a farmer is actually kind of cool because you're getting these really good grapes that are coming out.
Oh, for sure.
And that actually makes it. And then it's like, okay, this is kind of fun. Okay.
I think what Steve has here is a good life balance. Like,
Yeah.
how much work do I have to put in to do
Right.
double the production
That's very true.
and then
Oh,
and then expense, which is a big.
I mean, we would like to get a little bigger so I could actually hire minions, but I need minions. Other than that,
I actually appreciate that.
Yeah.
No.
So La Cuvier, do you sell them the Petit Syrah?
we did.
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, they bought, I think the only grape that we grow that they didn't buy was, let me just think about that for a second. I think they bought they bought everything that we grew. They never bought white grapes from us, only red grapes.
From La Cuvier, that the Petit Syrah is what we've got in our cellar, so that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm sure, depending on the year, it's got our grapes in it. Yeah.
And you can still see on some of your labels, on Le Cuvier's labels, your vineyards on there.
Yeah,
Yes.
they put
Loma
us on
Seca
it.
Vineyards.
Yeah.
They were always
Yeah.
good about that.
At
Yeah.
some point, that will disappear because we haven't sold them grapes in what, 3 years?
3
2 or
years,
3 years.
yeah.
2 years. Well,
Since-
whenever they sold,
whenever they sold,
sold,
yeah.
I think it was 2 years
Ah.
ago. So they
Okay.
stopped buying grapes from us.
Okay.
Thank you for teaching me. I don't keep up as close as Jason and Mike and Ann do about who's buying. And so,
I get it.
We have way too much information now. No, I think it's fascinating, the connections between the wineries. I always catch on to that. So when I research our guests, I always find that there's always some sharing going on, and I find that
Yeah, this last year, yeah, I think we sold, I can name a few. I know we sold to Nino Family Wines. Drew bought our grapes.
Nakora.
Nick
Cordon.
Elliott, Cordon, Hubba.
Diablo Paso.
those are places we don't like. No, that. Matter of fact, it's funny you brought that up because I wrote a note down. There was some. Were you and Drew working on?
Yeah.
Wine? Was he helping you with your wine?
Yes, yeah, at Onyx. Yeah, which is where we make the wine, is at Onyx, actually.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
Custom
yeah. So
crush,
that I
yeah.
should have said that. We've from the start been making our wine at Onyx under what they call an alternating proprietorship AP agreement, and so we don't have a bonded facility per se. So we have to make the wine somewhere else, and we do that at Onyx. And I've worked with Drew now for like 6 years, 5 years doing that, and he's great. He's fantastic.
Jason and I have been to Nino. I've been.
Oh, have you been to Nino?
Oh yeah, I've been familiar with Onyx for many, many years,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and have talked to Jeff Straka. And
yeah, Jeff Strakus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hopefully, we'll get Drew on here on the.
yeah. I'm sure he'd enjoy it. He's very knowledgeable guy. Terrific.
Yeah, we'd love to have him on.
Yeah.
And
I'll mention that to him next time.
you know what he does? He makes a great Syrah.
Guess where he gets the Syrah grapes.
Now we know what the secret is. Yeah. So that's how I track everybody. Where does the Syrah come from? And Nick Elliott, I was just talking to them the other day, and I'm trying to. Well, hopefully he's going to
He
go.
also buys our Syrah as well.
There we go. I knew there was.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyways, anybody else? Well, we can't thank you enough.
Thank you
Well,
guys.
thank you.
Hold on. Let me see. No, we will be in there in August. Chef Lisa said she'll be there up in August, and I don't have any more questions. But
Awesome.
anybody who wants to hang out for a little bit is welcome to stay, like usual. And Pam, Steve, you were wonderful guests.
Oh, thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
I appreciate
We're
it.
happy to be on
Like
the
I said, people buy from people they like, and
Uh-huh.
we like you.
Oh,
So-
good.
Thank you. Well, come on up,
Yay.
guys. Come on up. We got
Yeah, we're gonna come up. We'll be up there and at
We're
the
gonna hold you to that, you know.
huh?
We're gonna hold you to
And-
that.
and Jason as
I
well.
know. I don't make those commitments lightly.
I think we know where you live now.
Yeah.